Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome in for another exciting Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast. This one's going to be so good. My dog is coming into the room as we get the intro underway. Happy Ocean Week to all of you. This is our biggest week we have every single year. I think we've got 19 broadcasts this week. This is number 5 today alone. We have been all over the planet to showcase stories of incredible scientists and explorers working to understand and protect our oceans. And for this talk, you're in for a real treat. I'm going to announce our speaker in just a second. I've got to cover a quick housekeeping note, which is that we've got a Kahoot today. So between our talk and our Q&A, if you want to play along with a little 4-question quiz, you can do this with this game pin below. Feel free to pull that up on a separate tab. We'll be getting to that in about 20 minutes or so. But first, Dr. Katy Croff Bell is joining us to talk about her life exploring the deep sea. She is one of the most popular scientists we've ever had on in the history of our program. I think we've had her on more than any ocean scientist we've ever had. I'm surprised she keeps saying yes to me, frankly, but you're in for a real treat as she showcases her incredible career, some of the new and amazing stuff she's been doing, and more. And so without further ado, you're not here for me. I'm going to zip it. I'm going to turn you over to Dr. Katy. Thank you so much for joining us again. Welcome back and take us away. Let's go on a deep dive together. Here we go.
I keep saying yes because these are the most fun presentations I do. So
yes,
I'm going to say yes next time too. I'm so excited to be here to talk about the deep ocean with you. So yeah, let's dive right in. I can't see the classrooms, can I?
No, we've got them. The classes in the background. Their cameras aren't on, but they are there. And I'm here. And then we got a whole bunch of folks on YouTube as well.
Okay, awesome. Well, this is little me when I was, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years old. And I didn't know at the time when I was a little kid that I was going to be an ocean explorer. I just liked to be on the beach and in the water and in the pool as much as I possibly could. And that's really what got me started on this path. I was really lucky to get to learn how to scuba dive when I was in high school. This is me in La Jolla off of California, learning how to scuba dive. And it just got me absolutely hooked. And it wasn't really until I got to college when I discovered that ocean engineering existed as something that I could study and pursue. And even then, I didn't know that I could explore the ocean until I had a chance to go look for shipwrecks off the coast of Turkey in the Black Sea. After that, I was absolutely hooked. From then on, I dedicated all of my studies and career to deep sea exploration. So I went on to study maritime archaeology, and then I got my Ph.D. in geological oceanography, went on to become the vice president of the Ocean Exploration Trust. And then just 5 years ago, I started a new nonprofit called the Ocean Discovery League. And we're trying to accelerate deep sea exploration because, spoiler alert, we haven't seen very much of it. But first, before I get into that, what exactly is the deep ocean? Well, ocean covers most of the planet, almost 3/4 of the planet, and the deep sea covers 2/3 of Earth. So you can see the gray is land. You might recognize the continents. The light blue is shallow, sort of continental shelf, so usually shallower than about 200 meters, and all the dark blue is deep ocean. So it goes from 200 meters to almost 11,000 meters deep, and it covers 2/3 of the Earth's surface. So if you guys got into little teams of 3 people, one of you would be land and the other 2 would be deep ocean. So why is the deep ocean important? For so many reasons. I'll just list a few. It provides food for billions of people to eat around the world. It supports plankton, or drifting plants and algae and some bacteria that can photosynthesize, meaning that they turn energy from the sun into food. And that process produces oxygen that we breathe and that animals in the ocean breathe. It also balances climate and weather. All the greenhouse gases and heat that we're putting up into the atmosphere is regulated by the ocean. So the ocean is super, super important in the Earth's climate system. And it's also this wild, unknown space for us to enjoy, to explore, to understand. It's full of amazing life that we're just starting to discover and learn about, like these mussels. These are about 14 inches long, or I want to say, what's that?
30 centimeters?
Centimeters? Give me some metric, Jesse.
30 centimeters or so.
30 centimeters. They're huge, that live off of these chemical-rich waters coming up out of the seafloor. We find bioluminescent animals that can glow, some that can even see in the dark, bacteria that can protect sponges from pollution, and that can produce chemicals that help us with pharmaceuticals like different types of vaccines and medicines. The seafloor is also a really, really active environment where scientists find and study volcanoes and earthquakes and landslides and other hazards that can impact both inhabitants of the ocean creatures, but also us on land. So this is exploration of a hydrothermal vent that you can see right now. This is where really hot mineral-rich water is coming up out of the seafloor and creating these amazing chimneys. And all those little white things are little shrimpies on it. It also holds many historical and cultural artifacts, such as shipwrecks, which can hold clues about human history, about trade across the ancient world. This shipwreck that you can see, these are all clay jars that would have carried wine or olive oil or other things around the Mediterranean Sea. So this is a shipwreck that we found off of the coast of Turkey in the Aegean Sea. And it also provides habitat for, you can see a bunch of fish swimming around. Sometimes we'll find an octopus inside one of these things. So we can learn a lot about it. And it provides an environment in which a lot of animals like to thrive. So even though the deep ocean is really important, this huge volume of water is the least explored place on our planet because it's really difficult and expensive to study. In fact, can you see that teeny, teeny, tiny red dot? I put a yellow circle around it. Just you can see it.
Found it. I saw it. There it is.
Put your binoculars on.
Yeah.
That represents about 0.001% of the deep sea floor. And if you put all the dives together that we've done in the last 70 years, that's how much the deep sea floor we've seen. It's about the same as the size of Rhode Island, the smallest state in the United States. And it's also the same as a literal drop in a bucket. If you got a bucket and put a drop of water in it, that's how much of the deep sea floor we've seen compared to the volume of the rest of the bucket. So why? Why have we seen so little? And why is it so hard to study the deep ocean? Can we get some responses in the chat?
Absolutely.
Do you guys have ideas?
Yeah. So our live classes, if you're on YouTube, if you're on StreamYard, I know our YouTubers are a little delayed. What are the challenges of exploring the deep ocean? It's very cold. Okay. Yep. It is very cold. I'm used to cold ocean here in Newfoundland. I've swum in some warm waters. The deeper you go, it gets pretty chilly beyond the realm of people and a lot of things survive. The pressure. Yes. Okay. So Katie, we've got pressure, we've got cold, we've got dark, too deep. So it's literally just too deep. We can't get there. We don't have the technology to go there. Madam Sylvie, great answer. So deep, cold, dark. What's the other one I just said? Too much pressure. Animals, creepy things that are going to come eat you when you're down there. Katie, we're killing it.
Most times they don't have any interest in us.
Some awesome answers. Take us away.
Great answers. Thanks, guys. So you've hit a bunch of them. Need oxygen, another great one there. Yes, absolutely. So the deep sea is, of course, deep. That is definitely one challenge for us. The force of water can crush anything that goes down there at these great depths. Sunlight is another one I didn't hear. It cannot travel beyond about 200 meters of water. So it's really dark in the deep ocean. We need to bring our own lights with us to illuminate the water or the seafloor, whatever we're looking for. And even then, we can't see very far. It's kind of like using a flashlight in a snowstorm at night. Like, imagine that's how much you can see when you're down in the deep ocean. I think we heard too cold. So most definitely, yes. At the bottom of the ocean, the water is nearly freezing. It's about 4 degrees Celsius or about 39 degrees Fahrenheit. But in some cases, like at hydrothermal vents, the water can be hundreds and hundreds of degrees. So we've got to deal with both freezing cold temperatures and also super hot temperatures so that our tools won't burn or melt or freeze. One thing I didn't hear was the saltiness of the water. So ocean water contains salt and other minerals that can make our tools rust or destroy electronics. So it can be a really hostile environment. The ocean's also really big. Boats don't go very fast, generally about 10 to 15 miles an hour, and that's slower than driving around a neighborhood. So it takes a long time to get to places that are far away. And the last thing is that tools needed to explore the deep sea, because of all these challenges, they can cost a lot, hundreds of thousands to millions to tens of millions of dollars. So a lot of scientists around the world can't afford to buy and maintain and operate these tools. So what tools are we talking about? Because of all these challenges, oceanographers over the last 70 to 100 years have had to invent a lot of special kinds of tools like research vessels and underwater robots to create maps of the seafloor and make new discoveries so we can understand and learn and protect the deep sea environment. So what do we do when we're planning an expedition? First thing is we do our homework. We gather as much information as we can about a place, even if it hasn't been explored before. There is often something that we might know about it. So first we might go to the library or use the internet to find and read as much as possible about the area, learn if any work has been done there before. And this includes reading publications or talking to people who live in the area, finding maps, learning about local weather patterns. All kinds of stuff is really important for planning an expedition. So once we have all of our background information, we also do research on the best types of tools to use in the area, the depths that we plan to explore. And so we put all that together, we assemble a team, make an expedition plan, and then we get on a ship and head out to sea. This is an example of a research vessel that I used to work on. It's called the Exploration Vessel Nautilus. And it has a couple of different vehicles, remotely operated vehicles on board, as well as a satellite system and a multi-beam sonar. So the first step when you get out there is to make a good map of the area. Like if you go to a new city, you go for a hike, you want a good map so you know what you're doing. But in most places, we don't really have good maps of the seafloor. So what we use is called a multi-beam echo sounder. This is an instrument that sends out sound through the water. You can kind of see that in the diagram. The sound goes through the water, it bounces off the seafloor below, and then it comes back up to the sonar. And the amount of time it took for the sound to go down and back up and the angle are recorded. And then you can use that, you do a little bit of math, and you can use that to create the shape of the seafloor. So by sending a line of pings out, you can create a whole area. Like you can see this rainbowy map. The seafloor is not actually rainbowy. That just shows you the difference in depths. So like the reds are shallower and the purples are deeper, so that we can create a bathymetric map of the seafloor. Bathy means deep and metric means to measure. So bathymetric means to take measurements of the seafloor's depth. So this is a really, really important tool so that you know how deep your vehicles are going to go, maybe what the shape the seafloor is, and even some other information about it. So some sonars can even tell if the seafloor is hard or soft, which is important to understand what might be living there. Different animals like soft bottoms, different animals like hard bottoms, or if bubbles or fish are in the water. So you see these little white stripes coming up from the rainbowy seafloor. Those are bubbles that are coming up out of the water. That could be caused by a volcano or a methane seep. There are a few different reasons why bubbles might be coming up, but that's often really interesting for us. And we might want to go and look at that. Other things that could be interesting, if you see that the seafloor is shaped maybe like a cone, has really hard sides, might have bubbles coming up out of the middle, it could be a new underwater volcano discovery, and then you might want to take a look at that. Or you could even find a shipwreck. But oftentimes you don't have as beautiful pictures of this. Like those are pretty obvious. A lot of times it just kind of looks like a bump on the seafloor and you don't know what it is, but you still want to have a closer look. So there are a lot of different tools that we might use to go take closer looks. So to check our new maps or to make direct observations or collect samples on the seafloor, we use a bunch of different types of tools called deep submergence vehicles. So all types of deep submergence vehicles have different sensors. Sensors are devices that are used to measure and record different information. Like you might want to measure temperature or depth or salinity, which is like the saltiness of the water. So those are really common sensors that are used. There are all kinds of other things, but those are very, very common ones in oceanography. And of course, bringing lights and cameras so that you can see what's down there. So some different types of deep submergence vehicles are, the first one's human occupied vehicles, sometimes called submersibles. These are like little submarines with 1, 2, or 3 scientists and engineers inside. They don't have a tether to the ship, so they just drop off the side of the ship and they go down and they come back up all by themselves. Because they have humans inside them, HOV missions are no longer than a few hours. So, and you also need a large ship to deploy them. They're pretty expensive to buy and to operate. You need, of course, air systems, backup power systems to make sure that they're really safe for people to be able to go down, explore, collect their samples, learn something new, and come back up. Another tool is called a remotely operated vehicle, or an ROV. These are vehicles with a cable that are connected to the ship. So this has a really long cable. This one is called Hercules. I spent a lot of time with Hercules out at sea. And so there's a long cable that goes from a winch on the ship down to Herc, actually down to Argus and then to Herc. There are two vehicles in this system, so that people on board on the ship, so there are no people in these robots, the people are on the ship, you have pilots, you have scientists, you have educators, you have students on board who can all see everything that's happening in real time. So all the data, all the video comes up to the ship and we can see what's going on, and we can even live stream it back to shore so we can share it with you. So deep sea ROVs also require a large ship to deploy them. They can also be expensive to buy and operate, but they can stay down on the seafloor for a lot longer than human-occupied vehicles because there's nobody inside. We can leave these things in for days, and we have teams of people on the ship that trade out every few hours so that you can keep them running constantly and make the most of your time at sea. So the next group of vehicles are called autonomous underwater vehicles. These are programmed to carry out a mission over a certain area. There are no people in them and there's no tether to them. The lines in this picture are just to help deploy them, and then those lines come off. So you program them, they go in the water, they go and run a mission, collect whatever data. Might be mapping data, might be visual, might just be sensors. And then you pick up the AUV, you bring it back on board, and then you're able to download the data. So you can't see what it's doing in real time. But you can cover a really, really big area because you don't need to be connected to a ship to do it. So deep sea AUVs can be deployed from a ship or from shore, and they can operate for days at a time. But again, these larger vehicles can be quite expensive to buy and operate. You can get less expensive ones, but generally they can't go very deep, maybe a couple hundred meters or so. Drifters and gliders are underwater vehicles that can, as advertised, drift or glide a certain distance above the seafloor or at a certain depth from the surface. Generally, they collect sensor data, so often temperature, depth, and salinity, so that we can understand currents and different water properties. Like AUVs, they're untethered. There's nobody inside them. They go out and do their missions. And because they're not powered, they just drift and glide. You don't need a lot of power, so they can operate for a long, long time. They can be out for months or years, come up to the surface and send their data back via satellite. They can be large or small and go to different depths in the ocean. And finally, our last group of vehicles are called landers, or if you put some stinky, oily fish on them, they can be called baited remote underwater video systems, or BRUVs. These are vehicles that are dropped to the seafloor. They collect information and they rise back up to the surface. They can generally be much smaller and much more affordable than a lot of the other ones that I've just talked about, and pretty easy to deploy, but you can only see one point on the seafloor at a time. So there are always trade-offs with underwater vehicles. This one in particular is a very special one. DORIS is the Deep Ocean Research and Imaging System. And it's special to me because it's the new one that my team and a company called Blue Robotics out in California is working on developing right now, with a lot of partners both in the US and internationally. And we're really excited about it. So here's a little animation of how it works. So you bring your boat in, you deploy it. So there's a weight on the bottom that you tie on. It goes down, down, down to the seafloor, and it goes down, down, down. And then once it gets to the seafloor, it may turn on its light, turn on its camera, might see some cool stuff. Spends however much time you program it. And then at a pre-programmed time, it burns a little piece of metal and it leaves the weight behind on the seafloor, and the rest of it floats back up to the surface. That bit of orange on the top is flotation. So it comes back up, hopefully where you dropped it. And then you bring your boat over to pick it up. It flashes lights, it signals to a satellite system, and it also has a local ranging system so that you can tell where it is. And then you bring your boat over, you pick it up, and you bring it back on the ship. And it is super easy to use. So that is from our very first training workshop that we held in April of this year. Super exciting to be able to get out there. We were in Hawaii. And so you can see how it just plops right down and pops right back up. One or two people can pick it up and bring it back on the ship. And now this is a video from just last week. This is the deepest Doris has ever been so far, to 800 meters off the coast of California. So you can see this little jelly coming in from the side.
Whoosh, whoosh. He's delightful.
It's
I love
very
him.
slowly, but it's incredible. I don't know if you guys can see the tentacles coming up. This sneak peek, nobody outside of our team has seen this yet. So just FYI, it's kind of special.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, super cool. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more coming from Doris. The first couple systems to go out on a big expedition will be going to Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean in the month of July. And that'll be on board the Falcor 2, which live streams. So you might be able to catch a glimpse of Doris at sea of Trinidad in July. So because of the vast size of the deep ocean, the many challenges that we've already talked about, the high cost of deep sea exploration, we've only seen this 0.001% of the deep sea floor in the last 70 years. If we keep going at that rate, if you do a tiny bit of math, you'll figure out that it'll take more than 1 million years to see the entire deep sea floor, which is bonkers. So we don't have that kind of time. So my team has recently launched a really big project called the Global Deep Sea Exploration Goals. It sets out 10,000 places around the world. That's all these little yellow dots for us to go and explore and learn about the many different places around the world and put that information together so that we can have a much better understanding of the entire deep ocean compared to, you see the little purple and pink blobs. Those are all the places that we've been to already. So you can see that we've only gone to very few places in addition to it being a very, very small area. So by going to a lot of different places in the next 10 or 20 years, we're going to have a much, much better understanding of the deep sea floor. So the world needs explorers like you guys to help us build more tools that can cover more area, that are easier to use, less expensive, so more scientists can quickly discover, understand, and protect the deep sea's amazing mysteries, like this little octopus guy that I think that we saw off of Barbados a few years ago. So if it's helpful for the teachers out there, a lot of what I just presented is in a paper that we wrote for kids. So the link is here, QR code, and Jesse can send it out to all of you. How do scientists explore the deep sea floor? Pretty much everything I covered today is in there, and it's written geared toward kids. So please feel free to take a look. Really excited to be here, and I'd be happy to take questions after the Kahoot.
Oh, awesome, Katie. I've just put in the chat the entire link to the Frontiers article. We love Frontiers for Young Minds. One of the best things we've ever partnered with.
It's so great. And they made that little illustration too. It's so cute.
It's so great. They really know what they're doing. I love them. Oh, as you said, we're going to dive in with Kahoot first. So 4 questions, test your understanding, have a little bit of fun. For those new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And what you win is Katie and I's everlasting respect. So there's a few of you in there already. We're going to give you a few more seconds to join in the fun. And if you just want to yell out the answers in your class, that's totally fine as well. Come on in. Yeah, the more the merrier. It'll be fantastic. And then, Madam Sylvie, we're going to come to you live. Everyone else on YouTube, feel free to start sharing questions anytime in the chat. Let's dive in and get to it with our Kahoots. He was paying attention. And I could have had a billion questions here. There's so much to explore. It was a great talk. Professional detachment out the window. I love having you on. All right. True or false? The deep ocean is the largest habitat on Earth. We covered this in a lot of different ways. What is our answer? 70% of the world's surface is ocean. And then a lot of that is really deep. Yes, the answer is true. Almost everyone got that right. It's like 99% of the livable space on this planet is deep ocean. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Love it. All right. Fearless Ibex keeps our lead, or starts with our lead. So you go to question 2. The deepest point of the ocean is how far down? Is it 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet, or over 30,000 feet deeper than Mount Everest is tall? I will say we do like big numbers here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants as your hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And yes, a few of you thought that, Katie, there's a lot of ocean that's 10,000 feet, but the Mariana Trench is over 30,000 feet deep. Yep. Which is crazy. And we've had like 20 plus people go there now, which is also crazy. When I was a boy, 2 people had been there. Now there's like, I think 23 plus.
I mean, even like 10 years ago, it was still 2.
Yeah, I know. Good point. Let's see. Does that keep? Change our leaderboard entirely. Courageous Ostrich takes our lead. We go to question 3. True or false? There's life on the ocean floor.
I hope everybody gets this right.
We did have a lot of videos and pictures of this, so I'm hoping we all nail this. That's a beautiful worm. I know it's a big looking worm, but look at that thing. Oh, okay. So our false believer, no, lots of life on the seafloor. Lots of life, endless life. Really, really cool stuff too, like that worm. All right, Courageous Ostrich has her lead going into the final question. All right, for all the marbles. Multi-select. There's more than one right answer here. What kinds of jobs can you have on an ocean exploration vessel?
I didn't really cover this time.
I know. Could you be a cook? Could you be a submersible pilot, a biologist, a photographer? All 4, perhaps? Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. There's so many opportunities if you want to be on a research vessel. Like, Katie's super cool scientist. But there's like, then this is just a small smattering of all the different roles you can be. Yes, all of them are correct. Way to go to all of you. Put that on. All right, let's see what that does. And then we're heading to our Q&A. Madam Sylvie, if you want to flick on your camera microphone, we can come to you for questions live in a minute. YouTubers, start putting them in the chat. Marvelous Cheetah second and first by a big margin for all the marbles. Courageous Ostrich, almost wire to wire winner. Way to go. If you are the Courageous Ostrich, let us know who you are in the chat. And now, Dr. Katie, we're going to take one from YouTube first so we get our kids thinking caps on. Ava in Texas wants to know, what's it like living and working on a research vessel? What's some takeaways?
Well, imagine living and like sharing a room and eating and everything with just your classmates and your teacher. Like everybody living in your classroom for like a month, maybe. That's kind of what it's like. Everybody is within just a couple hundred.
Good analogy. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you usually share rooms, so they're often bunk beds on research vessels because there isn't a whole lot of space, and we try to get as many people on board as possible. So you're going to have, to sort of go back to the last question here, we have engineers, we have scientists, we often have educators, sometimes students, but also all the people that you need to run the ship, like the captain, the people who stand watches on the bridge and drive the ship, the engineers who are maintaining the engines, cooks on board, people who clean, the guys and women who work out on the back deck to make sure all the equipment is running. So you have all these different kinds of people on board, and you're all living together on the ship, eating food, bathrooms are on board, everything's on board. And you don't sleep a whole lot because it's really exciting. And oftentimes you feel like you might miss out on something. So it's a lot of work, but it's really fun.
I love, you're the first person ever to say it's like living with your classmates for months on end. I love that. Thank you very much for that today. Madam Sylvie, you guys have like a whole lineup of kids. So YouTubers, please do share in the chat. We'd love to take a bunch from you, but I love that this class does this. You guys rock. And I want to say, if you have any questions you don't get answered today, because we only have 15 minutes, you can email them to me and I'll pass them along to Katie and we'll take up her whole week by answering all your queries. Come on in. Take us away. Hi.
So what are you doing on the ocean floor?
What was the first bit of that? Your audio just cut out a little bit. Sorry.
What was that robot doing on the ocean floor?
Yeah, great question.
That robot. Well, I'm not sure which one you mean, but maybe Hercules. In which case we were looking for whatever might be there. So we never know what's going to be down on the ocean floor unless someone's been there before. And we usually like to go to places where nobody's been before. So sometimes we might go down and find a volcano, and there might be all kinds of bacteria and all kinds of other things living inside. Sometimes we might go down and find a hydrothermal vent where really, really hot chemically water is coming up out of the seafloor, and that can provide food for life that lives down there. Or we might be looking at a shipwreck and trying to understand the history of a place. So we could be doing all kinds of different things. But usually, at least for the work that I do, there typically hasn't been a person inside the robot. So we send the robot down and the people are up on the ship. And oftentimes we can control it from the ship to be able to look at things with the cameras, but then also maybe collect samples if you're interested in a rock or a different kind of animal to be able to study it and learn more about it. You can pick those things up and put them in special boxes that are on the vehicles and bring it back up.
Fantastic. Thanks for the great first question, guys. All right. We're going to keep doing the train because there's so many of you. Come on in. Take us away. Hi.
My name is Paige.
Oh. And again, sorry to do this to you. It's just I don't know why the computer's being a little weird. Could you repeat that again? Hi, Paige. Yeah.
How long does it take to get to the ocean floor?
Ooh, cool question.
Great question, Paige. It depends on how deep it is. So the ROV Hercules that I used, we would usually plan for about an hour for every 1,000 meters down. So like if we were going to go to Titanic, which is at about 4,000 meters in the ocean, that's about the average depth of the whole ocean. It would take about 4 hours to get down to the bottom. And then you do all of your work on the seafloor and then another 4 hours to get back up. So you've got to plan really well when you're working in really deep water and make sure that you're paying attention to the weather forecast, for example, because if it takes 8 hours to go up and down plus the time on the bottom, you want to make sure there isn't going to be a storm later tonight or tomorrow morning when you're planning on recovering. So that's a really great question. And it's really important for planning your expedition and how much time you have on the seafloor to do your work.
Yeah, what a great question. We don't actually get that one very often. So I really, really appreciate it.
I love it.
Quick one from YouTube, and then we're going to be right back with you folks. Elena just wants to know that you got second in the Kahoot. Way to go, Elena. And Bracebridge, rock on.
Good job, Elena.
Awesome. If you have any questions, I know you had one in the last program, so please do feel free to share. Madam Sylvie, come on back in and take us away. Hey.
I'm Alicia, and what is this for the hydrothermal vent?
Ooh.
What is what?
Oh. Sorry again.
What is the science for the underwater volcanoes, the hydrothermal vents?
Yeah, the hydrothermal vents. Tell us a little more about them. They're so cool.
Excellent. Yeah. So below the Earth's crust is the mantle, and it's sort of like liquid rock underneath the hard rock of the crust. And there can be cracks in the crust. And so what happens is that water from the ocean can go down inside those cracks, and then they get really hot from the mantle, which is liquid rock. And the reason why it's liquid is because it's super, super hot. And the water can also take on different chemicals and minerals from the mantle. And when it does that, you know how hot air balloons, they go up because they have hot air inside them. So when the water gets warmer than the water all around it, it likes to rise. It gets more buoyant. So it comes back up out of the seafloor. And when it does, it hits the cold water around it. And when it does that, a lot of the minerals can come out of the water. And that's what makes those chimneys that you saw in one of the videos, the one that had all the little white shrimp growing around, living around it. So a couple things are going on there. There's the geological process of this water going down and coming up and hitting the cold water and creating these amazing chimneys that can be like tens of meters high sometimes. But also the mineral rich water can provide food for bacteria that can use that to live. And those bacteria can live inside some kinds of mussels or tube worms or other organisms. They have, it's called a symbiotic relationship, where the other animal provides a home for the bacteria and the bacteria provides food for the other animal. So like the tube worms or the shrimp would have been harvesting these special kinds of bacteria that can use the hot mineral rich water coming out of the hydrothermal vent. So it's really interesting biologically as well.
Fantastic question. Thanks, guys. All right, we're heading back to our class. YouTubers, again, feel free to chime in. We'd love to hear from you. Take us away. Hi.
Hi, my name is Eleanor, and when you go deep underwater, why does it get hot and cold?
Ooh, what's the deal with the temperatures under there, Katie?
Ooh, the temperatures. Yeah, man, Madam Sylvie's got it great. questions coming out of your class. So the deep water generally is cold. And that's because cold water is more dense, or it's heavier than hot water. Just like we just talked about hot air balloons, right? The warmer air goes up and the colder goes down. So the same thing happens in the water. And this is what drives ocean currents. All over the world, there's water is moving all over the world. You might notice tides like coming in and out and in and out, but there's also this massive current that goes all around the world, and it's driven by the temperature differences. So the colder water, especially that's formed in polar regions, so in the Arctic and Antarctica, when that water gets cold, it sinks and then it travels around the Earth. So that's why the deep water is cold, because it's formed at the poles and then it goes down and then it travels around the Earth. Where you have hot water, that's because generally of hydrothermal vents and other processes that are happening. So that water can be hundreds of degrees hot. So it's really interesting to have these two like almost freezing and things that can melt and destroy your equipment in the same place.
Yeah, this is something we have experienced in space travel as well. There's a lot of parallels between exploring the deep ocean and space because of these weird temperature differentials, a lot of engineering that goes into it. So I love when we explore these questions. Great job, girl.
Yeah, a lot of similarity, but the challenge with the ocean is that the light doesn't travel through it. So like with space, you can have telescopes, right? They can see far, far away other planets, other galaxies, all kinds of things. But in the ocean, because the water absorbs light, that's why we can't see very far. And that's why we haven't seen very much. It's because even when you bring a camera and lights with you, you can still only see a few feet away from you. So that's what makes it really, really hard. Like a big difference between ocean and space. While like there are a lot of similarities, that is one really big difference. Why
very dark down there.
What's that?
Very dark down there.
Yes, very dark.
Elena on YouTube wants to know, are we putting garbage in the ocean? And if so, is there a way that we can work to solve this in any way?
Yeah, I mean, we have been doing that for thousands of years. A lot of the shipwrecks and things that we find in the ocean, ancient ones, you could consider ancient garbage. But now it's really interesting for us to study. The thing that we can do about it is, produce less plastic, produce less trash, recycle, reuse as much as you can. But at the end of the day, to really solve this problem needs to come from manufacturers, where we're just not using things as disposably as we do today.
Great question. Thanks, Elena. You've been fantastic all day long. Nice to see you again. Madam Sylvia, you got two more questions to wrap us up, so we're going to come to you for both. Take us away. Hey, girls. Oh, start again in a sec. Wait, your audio is doing a weird thing.
Hi, my name is...
There we are.
Hi, my name is Lily. So how long does it take for a sea volcano to erupt?
Thanks, Lily. Cool question.
Ooh, very cool question. How long does it take a sea volcano to erupt? It depends on the kind of volcano. There are a few different kinds of volcanoes, which you may or may not have studied yet. So in areas where seafloor is coming apart, so there are areas like these ridges here, on the seafloor. So the seafloor is coming apart, and those can have pretty diffuse or not big eruptions, but they can have lava constantly coming out of them, but not cause like major clouds of ash and smoke, that sort of thing. So in areas like that, they can be erupting for years on end. In other kinds of geological settings, especially where you have different kinds of plates going underneath each other. So you might have one oceanic plate going underneath, say, a continental plate or another oceanic plate. In those areas, you have a lot of water that goes down into the mantle and mixes with the mantle and comes back up. And the water makes those eruptions super explosive. And so that can be more, it's called episodic, just like happen once. And that might happen for minutes or hours or maybe days, but on much shorter timescales because they're so explosive. So there are different kinds and they'll take different amounts of time.
I said this in our last broadcast, so Elena will have heard me say this, but like it seems daunting to become a doctor like you. You know, you go to grade 12, you do an undergraduate degree, it's usually 4 years. Sometimes you do a master's in the middle, you're like in grade 20 by the time you're done.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so much
at least.
But at the end of that, yeah. But at the end of that, you get to play around with underwater robots and study volcanoes on the seafloor. And that is pretty cool. Okay. Like, it's not for everybody, but if it is for you, if you're passionate enough, you end up with the coolest jobs in the whole world. So very, very cool. Thanks for the question, Lily. All right. One final one from our incredible group and Madam Sylvie's class, and then we'll wrap up from there. Come on in, and there you are. Hi.
Hi, my name's Abby. I have a question. What's your favorite part of your job?
Oh, no pressure. Thanks, Abby. Great question.
Great question, Abby. One of my favorite parts is talking to students like you. Honestly, I have a smile on my face for the rest of the day because I got to share some of my adventures and some of the things I know with you, and you're super excited about it. And hopefully it might inspire you to go and explore the ocean too.
I love when we get this question and this answer. This is actually a really common answer among a lot of people we bring on exploring by the seat of your pants. And I think it would be surprising to me as a student to hear this, but so many scientists and explorers live to share their stuff. Like, they're not just excited to learn about it, they're so excited to talk about it. And so if there's something in your life, you're a student and you're obsessed with planes or art or history or weird creatures or whatever, like, tell your friends. I was quiz kid when I was a boy because I love telling all the kids about the nerdy weird animals that I love. And so that sort of passion can carry you forward and do an amazing job like Dr. Katy's. And so I really appreciate your enthusiasm as an audience today. You all totally rock. Before we wrap up and say farewell, is there any one final message you want to leave us with about deep sea exploration, all this good stuff you get to do?
I just encourage you to learn more about it. It's something that I didn't learn about when I was a student, so you've already got a leg up on me. But there's so much more out there now than when I was a kid, and I'm really excited about all of your questions. Madam Sylvie's class, you had fantastic questions that I don't get all the time. So I just encourage you to learn more about it, take a look at that Frontiers paper, and learn as much as you can.
I have put that in the chat again for all our Madam Sylvie classes. I can't encourage you to check these out enough. There's so much more to explore and discover. One of the best Q&As I've had in a very long time. So thank you very much for joining us today, guys. If you're on YouTube and you want to scream and yell and annoy the principal, you have our permission to. Madam Sylvie's class live. Everyone on YouTube, thank you all so much for being here. And farewell for now. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye for now, guys.